Today we're making Ralph Lauren inspired Christmas crafts. Keep watching. I'm Brandy, and this is Making It My Own. Welcome. The first project is a sophisticated brass bell set. I'm going to reuse these bells that I've used previously in other projects. And we're going to use these in the middle of a wreath. I'm going to use some gold metallic paint. Same one we've been using for the other crafts we've been doing. Okay. And I'm just showing you here how I'm going to just use a piece of wire to twist and make a hanger so I can hang it off of a tree outside and get to all of my surfaces easily. I'll leave it outside to dry and we'll start working on the wreath. We'll need some pipe cleaners or some zip ties. You'll need some deco mesh. Mine is about 21 inches, I think, is the standard one. And then this is how much I have left on my roll. I didn't use all of it. Letting you know that because I don't have exact measurements. This is a piece that I thrifted. All right, so I am walking my hands together. We're going to create a little tail on the bottom, and that's going to be our starting section. I want to grab a zip tie. We'll go under the middle bar and go over the cross section and pull that nice and tight. And this is what's going to hold this in place. Even if you decide to use pipe cleaners, it's best, in my opinion, to first put down that, that zip tie because it's stronger. All right, so now we're going to make poofs. This is so easy. Don't be scared to do this. We're going to make 10-inch poofs. Here's my ruler. There's my poof. I'm going to pinch it up and pull it to about the center of that section. And then I'll use a zip tie and put that one down. I'm going to show you how I use a zip tie a few times and show you how to do a pipe cleaner. For those of you who are new and not aware and are new to crafting, I want y'all to have some options, see what you got at home that you can use. We're going to do the same thing again. Go down here, measure out 10 inches. I'll grab that section. I like to roll my outsides inward. If you don't have a good quality deco mesh, they can shred really easily and kind of fall apart. So if you wrap it back on itself, it makes the pretty side of the fabric be upright. Okay, nice and tight here. Clip that off. And then we're just going to continue along just like this. Each of those little sections you see there, and this is the larger of the Dollar Tree wreath forms that you can buy, the metal wreath forms. So there'll be cross sections that go across the rings. There are 3 rings and then cross sections. And so we're just going to be attaching down. So there's cross sections and then in the center section, those will be secured in those areas. Excuse my voice. We've been doing some yard work today. So we've been down in the woods pulling limbs and stuff, and my allergies are going nuts. Okay, so we're going to go over and show you again another. And I wanted to just say, I left this much of this in here because not all of us know how to do this. And I want to be sure everybody feels included and some people just aren't the type of people to be in the comments asking questions. So they kind of give up. They don't ask their question. But I encourage you in the comment section here to ask questions. I'm going to help you. There are lots of people who have been on my channel for a long time who have followed me, who also read other people's comments and are very helpful. So get to know the people here. We're a big old family on Making It My Own. Continuing along, you saw how I used the pipe cleaner. You can, if you decide to use pipe cleaners all the way around, that gives you an opportunity to have another way you can connect like a ribbon stack to it, a decoration to it, an ornament to it, Okay, so we're going to go all the way around. Same thing with the little poofs. And then we're back to the beginning. I'm going to get my poof. I'm just going to show you how I kind of tied this together here. No, I'm not trained to do wreaths. No, wreaths are not my forte. I am self-taught. These are ideas to inspire you. And if you know a better way, feel free, to do that. And, we all have different techniques, but I want to show you different ways. Just like I showed you, you can cut the zip tie with scissors, or you can cut those with wire cutter. We don't all have the same things at our house, right? But crafting brings me so much joy. Creating brings me so much joy. That's why it's so important for me to include everybody so that everybody knows they can have that kind of joy in their life too. Not everybody's at the same point your neighbor's at, right? But we all deserve to feel proud of ourselves, don't we? If you're new here and you're learning anything, I would love it if you would subscribe to the channel and giving me a thumbs up, and commenting lets YouTube know that I am doing my job over here and I am working hard to give you quality material that you can be inspired by. So then I just cut off a section about as long as the piece that I already put down there, and I would say 4 inches if I had to guess. We're going to go inside each of those loops, just follow down. I'm going to kind of push the outside up a little bit and then pull them out. You remember how Mama put her stockings on before church, and she would put her toe in. She'd have it all fed up into her hand so it looked like a little potato. And then you put your toe in and then you kind of walk those toes up. Well, that's what we're doing here. We're kind of putting our fingers in there and we're walking that out. Good grief. I'm telling you, my brain sometimes. I hope y'all got a kick out of that. Speaking of, I remember my grandma also got legs pantyhose, and they were eggs. And we got those eggs and played with them. Yes, we did. We sure did. We were a mess. Bunch of girls. Yep. All right, so I'm pulling all these out just to make it fuller, and you can see it's nice and full. Now, the only wreath form I had was the dark green. If you can get gold and you're using a lighter colored mesh, that's a good idea. Even silver probably would be less visible. But I'm going to show you something else that you can do that's going to help cover that up. Now, see on the back where the sections are, you can actually take the parts that are on there in the middle and slide them back and forth so your poofs are nice and even. And you don't have like big gaping holes in there if you don't want them. Okay, so you can leave your tails hanging out like I did, the beginning and the end of the mesh where we cut it, or you can just tuck it back inside one of the little poofs that are nearby. Also, in these types of wreaths, you can double up on your deco mesh, and then you'll have an even fuller wreath if you do it that way. Totally up to you. I know. We're thinking outside of the box here, and a lot of people think that deco mesh is not the rich look that you would get from like Ralph Lauren inspired decor, but I'm going to show you that we're going to make this look pretty, okay? We're going to tone it up. So I'm showing you some things that you can use here in your wreath if you choose, and I decided to use this holly and berry ribbon. Very pretty. I've used it in some other projects, and we have some sets now that you can put together. The decor is going to be matching, and some things that we've already made in the vintage or the Victorian style decor. So yeah, we're going to have a lot of stuff that looks good together and coordinates nicely in the house if you decide to do it that way. But you can change it up, and if you're doing it for somebody else, as a gift, then just think about what colors they like, what theme they enjoy. If they like the Grinch, maybe you'd want to do something that's a little more Grinchy. You know what I mean? Okay, so I've just taken 18 inches of this ribbon and cut it in a strip, and I'll do a bunch of these strips. 18 inches, that's what my ruler is here. I don't want to confuse anybody because this is not a standard ruler. This is, 1.5 feet. And I'm just going to cut a bunch of these off. I would want enough to go across every single section where the poof is connected down. So you see me tying over the top of the zip tie or over the top of your pipe cleaner, whichever one you have there. If you had the dexterity to do it, perhaps you could skip the entire pipe cleaner or zip tie thing and just tie these down with the ribbon, tie your poofs. I don't think I would trust it. But you could do it, I bet. Okay, so then I'm just going to twist my ribbon around. You need to use the wired ribbon, if I didn't mention that already, because a ribbon that doesn't have a wired edge is going to be floppy, especially a ribbon this size. So having some wire in it helps you pull those up, put them in a shape that you like, and they will stay there, essentially. I mean, the wind's going to blow things around, but you can pretty much make them stay in that position. So if you have a ribbon that's more vivid on one side than the other, like this ribbon that I have, because this is probably like gift wrapping ribbon, to be honest with you. It's only patterned on one side, so I would want the other side to be on the back. After you tie the knot, you can just twist it around and put it in that position if it doesn't naturally try to go that way. Okay, so I'm just going to continue along and do this, and I think a dovetail in the end just gives it a cute look, and it kind of reminds me of, that the berry leaves are prickly and they have little pokes on them, little pokies on them. So it just kind of reminds me of that when you cut in a dovetail for this particular project. I don't know, y'all. You know at this point with how my head works. All right, so I decided to use another piece of this ribbon, and I'm going to use it to make a hanger. I wanted to see how it was going to look, if I thought it would work for this. And I think it will. So I'm just going to get the length that I like. So whatever size bells you have, if you have bells that are like these, you just want to kind of look at your wreath first and see where you would like them to be positioned, and then glue your pieces down. We've still got to loop it through the metal part of the wreath form, and we're going to loop it through the inner ring. And like I said, I'm keeping in mind where I want these bells to hang, because I don't want them to be too high and then there's a hole. I don't want them to be too low down and then there's a hole. So I'm trying to get it sort of close to centered, but I know I want to do a little something extra here, because I want to show you that you can add a bow if you would like, and you can add some greenery. So hang in there, because we're going to get to it. Okay, so now I know that this is the length that is going to work. I'm going to add some glue. Put it in place, protect your fingers, and I'm sorry my nails are a mess right now. It's that time of year. Okay. I love this gold spray paint. I really do. And so then you can fluff out all your little ribbon pieces, and you can do these ribbons in stacks. You could do several different ribbons there and really make it more full. I was kind of trying to be a little more minimal with this. If we're going to call it Ralph Lauren, we don't want to get too nuts with it, right? We want to do that understated elegance. So that's what I'm trying to show you that you can do, I think, even with deco mesh wreath. Yeah. We want to have options in our home. Who says that only people with a lot of money can have beautiful homes, right? Darn that. Okay, so now I've just tied right on top of the ribbon to keep it from allowing that to slide back and forth, because I didn't tie it to or secure it to like a cross beam. It was in between, so I needed something to support it and keep it from moving. So that's why I did that, and I could have dovetailed it too, but that's just kind of to hold it in place. And so now this is the part where we're making the bow. I've got about 10 to 12 inches of a tail, and then I've formed a loop. Then I'm going to pinch it in my hand, form another loop, make sure it's about the same. I would say I can't give you measurements on this, y'all. I'm so sorry. I'm just not that type of a professional. I'm self-taught. But I can show you how, and you can even put it in slow motion and slow it way down, and you can pause it. You can do all kinds of good stuff over here on YouTube. Yes, you can. So I know I want to have a 5th loop in the middle, so I'm just going to create a 5th loop. So now I have 4 loops. I'm going to cut it off with a little bit longer tail, just so that I can trim it down at whatever length I like. We don't cut too much off first time, right? And then I'm just looking at it in my hand, trying to get it secure so that I can then tie it in place with a zip tie or with a pipe cleaner. Leaving the pipe cleaner on this gives us the opportunity, again, to use it as a connection and secure that down to the top of where the bows are, or the bells are. Alrighty. And so we'll go right there, and I'm just going to secure it. I'll show you here through the back, over that section, and secure it down. This is not the kind of wreath you want to put on a glass door where you can see the back of it, because it is not. It's just not. Put it on a solid door, put it on the wall, hang it in the hallway, however you want to do it, I kind of wanted to make a rhyme there, but I didn't do it. I'm sparing y'all. I'm sparing y'all today because I love you, and it's the week of Thanksgiving. Nobody needs that version of me today. I'm already being silly. Okay, so there's my little bow all fluffed. Now you can put your tails off to the side if you want. You can cut these tails at a slant. You can dovetail these. And again, dovetailing is just cutting your ribbon from the wired section up toward the middle at an angle, and it makes a little fork in the bottom. 2 little, well, I guess not a fork, but makes a V in the bottom. Because it has wire, you can kind of bow it a little bit like that. You can twirl it around your finger. You can make it curve. You can leave it in the middle, or you can put with one tail off of each side. And you can use the ribbons that's already down on there to help secure those things in place, kind of hold them in place. And this is how it's going to look. So again, you want to stop at that point, you can. If you want to add a little more, here's some dark green and deep red, which are all in the Ralph Lauren style right now. They're also very Victorian, which makes my little heart happy that all these things work well together because I've been creating both. And I've been having fun. Okay, this is the final product, and you can always hang that straight off of the hook or the hanger right off of that metal loop because you'll have room back there to do that. Here's how it looks when it is outside on the door. Thank you to my members whose monthly contributions help keep the business going, and my children and I appreciate it. The framed sleigh ride is next. So some options that I didn't use would be some velvet ribbon or a little bit of Dollar Tree ribbon, just something that looks in the deep colors that, are fitting into the Ralph Lauren style. I've got some gold paint and this beautiful card that I thrifted. It was still in the plastic with the envelope, but the horses and the sleigh just scream Ralph Lauren to me, so we're going to go with that. And no, they're not playing polo, but who knows what they do in the off season. We, don't assume too much. We don't assume too much. Okay, I'm going to take this little frame that came from Dollar Tree and we're going to take it apart. I like the fact that it is silver, but it has that speckling and that line through it, almost like marble does, even though we know it's not marble. But it would give, in my opinion, like an aged look. So first of all, we got to secure this thing because, you get these frames at Dollar Tree. They're hit or miss. But an idea just to secure it is to use a little hot glue on the backside of it. Put those pieces together and squish them together. You can also use super glue if you would like to fill in your spaces. All right, so here's that beautiful card. I'm just going to open it up and I will cut it down the middle because you can use scissors for this. And if you happen to have a paper cutter like those pendulum cutters, this is a really good time to use it too, especially on little straight detailed lines like this. You just put it in there and slide the blade. Now, I should have put my blade up top and it snagged on there instead, but I fixed it. And it gets, you get a nice clean look there. I'm going to try to add some links for y'all to some of these things I'm talking about. All right, so you could use spray paint, but it's going to completely cover up the black. I don't want to do that. So I have some of this that I got at the thrift store. It's actually stencil paint. And I thought, well, I've never played with it before. It's got to be a little thicker. So let's give it a shot. It's got almost a moussey or gel-like consistency. So I thought, well, if nothing else, we'll put it on here. It'll be good as like a base in between, like a primer. So I just brushed it on, and then I went back over with the same technique I do so often when I'm redoing frames and other pieces, and just take a sponge brush and just bump it up and down, up and down, up and down. It's going to give it some texture, which does not bother me at all, and it's going to give me the color still showing through from the black. That marbling is still going to show through. It's going to make this look a little more aged. And I just thought it's a better look. It's a nicer, maybe an upgrade for a Dollar Tree piece because there is some potential, right? So that's what it's going to look like as I'm doing it. And you need to be sure you just go ahead and go all the way around and let it dry completely. You can even let it dry overnight if you want. And so here it is, nice and dried, complete and dry. Now, option number 1 is to put this back like it was. Put it inside of your glass. Option number 2 is to go ahead and put it on the outside. Why? Because it's different. We could do it differently. But it also gives you the opportunity to use all types of cool little gadgets you might have, any little metal pieces, any little scraps, ephemera, corner protectors, thumb tags, upholstery tags. I want to show y'all how to use some things that maybe you haven't used before. Maybe you even have it at home and you haven't thought to use it. Look how pretty these are. These have actually like a star in the head and they stick out a little bit. But I thought they looked so cool. Well, I was obviously not going to stick it through that frame. So just taking some cutters and cutting that off is now going to give me a flat surface. I can glue this card down. Got to move kind of quickly unless you want to use some other type of glue because hot glue dries fast. And just tap it into place just where the glue is because you don't want to push your card through. Make sure you eyeball it and it's fairly straight there. and I like the look of that. And then I'll take each one of these little, I don't think these are upholstery tags. We're just going to call them brads. I'll try to find them if you're interested and link them down below for you or link them in the comments. They're pretty. And I thought that star on there just reminds me of the type of garb that horses wear, race horses and things like that. You'll sometimes see stars with rodeos and with horses. So I thought that would be really cool for the Ralph Lauren look. I like that the metal look is different. So it's two different ones, but it looks to me very pretty, very elegant, kind of rustic even, but definitely I think it fits perfectly into the Ralph Lauren theme. You want to put your back on there, you can, just so that you get the use of that stand. Or you can make a hanger with the ribbons from before that I showed you. This is what that piece looks like. Our standing ornament is next. My favorite. All right, so we're going to use some spray paint. I love the hunter green color here, but I also have hunt club green. It needs to be a rich dark green. I have an ornament. It's just something I spray painted nickel, a project that I never finished. And then I have rub and buff. I'm going to try to see if I like European or the antique wax better, the gold color. And then this is a wood little candle stick that I thrifted. I've had it for a long time. I've used it. These are the measurements for you to give you an idea. It's got a lot of damage. There's damage on there. Looks like it got painted over. I don't know if it's supposed to look like maybe it was aged. I don't know, but we're going to go with it. I think it'll work. So I'm going to use a floral pick here to give me a little something to hold my ornament. So when I take it outside, I can put it in a bottle and it won't fall over and I can get to all the sides. So this is the one I chose. While it is drying, we're going to work on the candlestick. I've got the two colors. For whatever reason, this came out so nasty. It came out so oily. I don't know. But anyway, I tried the antique wax is what I got there at the bottom. And I decided, yeah, we're just going to use that. So I'm using a cloth on here. It says you can use a gloved finger if you would like. And I'm going to show you that technique in just a little bit. But on this, I am using a rag because I have only used rub and buff a few times. I've kind of gone back to what I know works. And I kind of stick to that. But I want to try some new things because I have been told by several sweet ladies who are always talking to me on here that rub and buff is fantastic and it'll change your life. And let me tell you, it changed the life of this candlestick. I'm not even sponsored to talk about rub and buff, but would you look at this? The color. And the fact that it's a little bit banged, it was already banged up as a piece of wood, and you can see those imperfections in there. I love it. Look at that. Oh, look at the difference. That's crazy. So I'm just adding it on and rubbing it in. And then in the areas that I want to be sure, now you could leave that dark area to make it look as though, it's just natural aging or shading or whatever. But I wanted to fill it in. So use a very soft brush and dip into the wax, and then you can go back in there and get into those little tight spots. I will do another wax on top of this, but you'll see that after a while. But this is how it's looking, and I absolutely love it. Now, if you're going to glue anything to the top, you may want to skip the whole waxing the mouth of the candlestick that you're using. Don't wax it if you're going to have to glue onto that. But I'll show you what I do because I waxed mine. I love how this turned out. It's so pretty. And I've buffed it out, and we're going to set it aside. I'm going to use some antiquing wax and some gold rub and buff. I'm going to use a stiff brush here. And then the ornament that we spray painted. Look how pretty it turned out. What a beautiful green. But it's so flat and it has just barely any dimension. We're fixing to do it to it. Do you hear me? We're fixing to do it to it. So I'm going to protect my table and put this down. I know that you can layer waxes. So I am going to layer down first my dark wax to go into all of the all the areas below and out in the shadows. It helps add that depth, that helps add that dimension. Putting the dark wax on top, Then rubbing that off and going back in with a lighter wax is really going to accentuate the areas that we want to accentuate. So hang in there, because this blew my mind. This absolutely blew my mind. So we're adding on a little bit of the wax, and then I'm rubbing it back while it is still damp, just working in sections. Look already at the difference in the aging that puts on there. I love it. So when you wipe it back, you can see clearly the areas that still need a little bit of attention, and that's using this big stiff brush like this helps you get into those little cracks that you might normally miss. It's maybe a stencil brush. I'm not entirely sure. I've had it a long time, and it probably came from the thrift store by the looks of it. So, okay, so look at this. Look at the difference before and after. Just that part of the aging process, the difference. So much better. So I was very excited as this process was going along, because I thought, yeah, I can see now where this is going. I had no idea. Okay, so I'm wiping it all back, and be sure that you do the top of your ornament too. You can use an ornament that just recycle something you already have if you would like. I had this one. This was in my craft pile and I didn't use it. I just started on it and never finished the project. So I'm going to use a little bit of heat just to help me dry that wax just a little bit. But you can leave it overnight. You can wait, check out your dry time and leave it. So now I'm looking at it to make sure I like it. It's nice and dry. I'm going to grab that gold rubbing buff again, and this time I'm going to use a latex glove. Y'all, to show you and just tell you everything I save, I used to dye my hair. It was over a year ago. My hair's been natural for quite some time now, but I used to buy the hair dye, and so they came with boxes of gloves. And so I'm just using my glove there, and I saved them, and now I use them in the craft room. Yeah, I'm telling you, I'm tight, y'all. All right, so I'm just using my fingertip to go over the areas. I'm trying to keep the pad of my finger flat and add just a little bit at a time. I am trying to avoid any of the flat surfaces on the bottom, like the areas that are flat, that don't have a decorative piece and then are not in the shadows. I'm trying to avoid that part of it. I don't want to leave streaks on there because I want this to look elegant and rich and beautiful. So this is what we're doing. Oh, doesn't that make you want to do the gingerbread dance? Look at him hopping around. It just makes me want a cookie, to be honest. I do have some of those in the cabinet. In fact, I might need coffee and one of those snack cakes shortly. All right, so moving along. I'm going to go across here, and the center of this section is raised. You wouldn't have known it, but look, y'all, look at this. Please tell me y'all are going to try to do this. Please tell me. Please. Okay, so the bottom is my experimental section there, because I wanted to see how it would blend, if I could blend it out smoothly into that area and kind of buff it out. I couldn't do it. Maybe if I'd add more wax to it, I could have, but I just added a little more brown wax afterward to try to cool it down a bit. And then, just to give it a little more warmth, I went around it with the wax. I'm not trying to do major shading or anything here, just deepening the warmth just a little bit. You really can't even see it. So attaching these two things together is pretty easy. I'm just using some recycled foam, cool temp glue to hold it in place, and the tip will still kind of burn your foam, but it'll keep it in there. You want it to be just below the surface of your ornament. Now you could stick it on this way if you wanted to glue it flat onto the ring, but we've already waxed, so that's not going to be an option for us. A much sturdier way to hold it in place is to use a stem and some hot glue in that ornament where it naturally would hang from in the first place. I'm going to set it down, let it dry. My wax is dry, by the way. Everything's dry, y'all. Before we connect things, they need to be dry. I'm going to add some tight bond glue on top of my foam. I shoved it in there. And then I'm going to push the pick down into here. Okay. Now, until that dries, I'm going to add a little bit of hot glue, just a little bit, right at the base, so that it will drip down into where that foam is. I would rather have it there. It's not going to work if you stick it on top of the wax. Usually it will repel it and it'll pop up. That's going to hold it into that glue underneath. Will set and hold it. Look at this thing. It looks like a scepter. This is very elegant to me. I think this would be beautiful on a mantle, just anywhere. I love this. I've done ornaments before, standing ornaments, and I've never done one that has turned out so rich looking. I am very, very pleased with this, and I would love it if you'd share with me if you think you might be doing one of these this year. Thank you so much for coming by. There's a rectangle right here below. I want you to click next to keep the party going. See you soon. Bye.